Hi, we are going to do a data analysis problem with looking at costs. And so how we differentiate some different costs. And so if you look at the problem here, it does have a spreadsheet that you download. Now this one's a little different. It doesn't open up in your browser. You actually have to download it in order to make it work. And so I'll let you click that and you can download it so that you can work on it on your computer. It's going to be a little more difficult for me in terms of screen sharing, but we'll make it work. So before I switch, I can't switch back and forth between the Cengage and the Excel sheet on this one. So let's look at what's in Cengage first, so we kind of have a feel for it. So here we're going to look at how to use VLOOKUP. VLOOKUP is one of my favorite functions in Excel. And so I'm excited that you get to learn how to use it here if you haven't already. So we have some keys that we're going to use. So look, here's a key that associates a charge code with different products, different, whether it's a product cost or a period cost, right? So we have the charge code that's associated with a charge type, and then we have a product or period cost that we can indicate which it is based on the charge code. We have a second key down below where it has the charge code, and it will actually associate it with a cost name. So what we have to do is actually create separate tabs in our spreadsheet that we will then reference in order to create columns in our data sheet. So you'll see this in a second. So let me switch over so I can share, so I can actually share the Excel spreadsheet. Okay, so you should be able to see the Excel spreadsheet now. So we go through and we want to create a column here that is going to be our product and period cost. And so this column is going to let us just identify for each of these transactions based on the charge code, whether it is a product cost or a period cost. And we also want to create another column here that is going to be the cost name. Okay, so how we do this, we need to create a key. So we have our key, and our first key is going to be product and period cost. And we will take the data from the question. I'll copy it and paste it right in here. I'm going to just spread it out, make it a little bit easier to read. So that's nice. So we paste it in there, format so it looks nice. We have our product and period cost key. We can also create our key for our cost name. Okay, so I'll copy that out of the problem. And I'll make it look a little prettier. Okay, I'm going to rename my tab cost name, just to keep it nice. Okay, so now what I want to do is make it so that this column on my data set is going to be equal, is going to fill in based on the key. So I will say equals and V lookup, okay, of this charge code. Okay, and I want to look for that charge code in this array. So I'll then highlight this array on my product and period cost page. And if the charge code is found, I want to return whether it's a product cost or a period cost. And this is the third column. So column 1, column 2, column 3. So I will put a comma 3. Okay. And then I want to have a comma false. Now this makes it so that you have to have an exact match. Otherwise, it'll find something close and just give me, and I don't want it to be a close charge code. I want the exact charge code. Okay. So there we go. We can put that in there. Now let's copy that down. Oh my goodness, something's wrong. There's obviously an error. Usually when I copy something down and there's an error, it means I forgot my little dollar signs to freeze a frame. And that's what happened here because I have my array, but I forgot to put the dollar signs to keep my array in the same place. And so I put those in and I copy it down. That all worked. So I just needed in my array, my product and period cost sheet array, I needed those dollar signs. It had to be A $2 through C $13 to actually show where my key really is. Okay, let's do the same thing with the cost name. So my cost name again, equals my VLOOKUP. Okay, and I'm looking for this charge code, comma, go to my cost name, and I want to select my array. Okay, comma 3, right? Because I want to return this third column in my array, comma false, because I want it to be exact, or don't give me anything if it's not exact. Now this time I remember I'm going to put in my dollar signs ahead of time. Okay, and I copy that all the way down. I could just drag it, right? I could click here and drag it, but it's easier to just double click in that corner. There we go. Now we get to go to everybody's favorite part, right? Let's create a pivot table. So I click anywhere over here, I insert table, and I want a pivot table. Okay, so I insert pivot table, click for a new worksheet down here, and my table range, and I'm going to do all the way from A1 down to my F50 here, and that'll be my table range. Okay, good. Okay, hopefully you got that. So now let's look at the questions. So here, actually, it tells you exactly what to put in. So it's trying to create a nice little chart. And so let me see if I can flip back to sharing so we can all look at the, let's see if I can change back and share my Cengage again. So it's trying to give you this nice little chart that you're trying to create where you have your period costs first, and you list out your period costs, your administrative expenses, and sell expenses. Then you have your product costs, and you have your direct labor and direct materials, right? And we want to look through, and for each of these, we want to see the cost type, right? And then our value is going to be the amount. So we can so remember this, it's period. We want to start with period or product. Then we want to do, what it is here. So what does it say? It actually outlines it pretty nicely for you, right? So your period or product, your cost name, and then your charge type. Okay. And then our output here, value, is going to be the charge amount. Okay. So that's going to be some of our charges. So let's go back. I'll share my Excel sheet again. Okay. And so we go to create our pivot table. And we want our product or period. We want our cost name. And then we want our charge type and our charge amount. And look at that, it lined up very nicely with what we were trying to do in terms of what the Cengage is asking for. And so it gives us all of our data right there. Presto. So I'm just going to put in this last one, make sure if this grand total is not right, then nothing's right, but it worked out for me. Okay, so hopefully this is helpful for you, not only in learning about VLOOKUP, which again is an incredibly useful tool. I use it all the time, but also helping to remind you about how costs are looked at, period costs versus product costs, and that's useful as well. So have a great day, and I'll talk to you later.